Dropset Trainer 2 versus the Under Armour TriBase Reign 6. Which should you go with? Let's talk about it. So 4 major differences to note between these shoes include number 1, their weights. And yes, you can feel a difference between both of these models. In my size 10 Dropset Trainer 2 here, we have a weight that sits around 12.2 ounces. In the TriBase Reign 6, we have a weight of about 14.25 ounces. And you will feel the difference between these shoes on the feet. So if you are very big on having a lightweight training shoe, then the Dropset Trainer 2 will probably resonate a little bit better for your overall needs. Now 2 ounces, sure, it's not the biggest deal for most folks. I'm more so talking to the folks who have very specific weight asks with their models. The second major difference to note between these shoes is their midsoles and how that's going to influence your training and feeling in each of these shoes. So in the Dropset Trainer 2, you have this dual density midsole. So up here in the forefoot, this midsole is a little bit lower regarding its stack height, but it's also a little bit more plush and responsive and flexible. And then as you transition from the midfoot into the heel, this midsole gets a little bit more dense, giving you more stability to the heel of this shoe. It gives the heel a slightly more blockier feel in this model. In the Reign 6, your midsole is this drop-in midsole here. So as opposed to the traditional midsole that you got in the Dropset Trainer 2 or the Reign 5, you now have this drop-in midsole, and this midsole feels a little bit more plush throughout compared to the Dropset Trainer 2. So if you're somebody that wants a plusher and more responsive ride throughout the entirety of your shoe, so in the forefoot, midfoot, and heel, that's where the Reign 6 I think can excel for your specific asks. Both these models I do think are really stable for lifting. If I had to give an edge to versatility to one of these shoes, the Reign 6 is gonna take that just because the heel of the Dropset Trainer 2 can sometimes hinder their overall versatility when it comes to short runs and plyos and whatnot. The third major difference to note is their heel to toe drop. So in the Dropset Trainer 2, you have a heel to toe drop of 6 millimeters. So if you like training with a bit more heel for your squats, your cross training, your CrossFit WODs, this will be something to consider with the Dropset Trainer 2. You're gonna have a slightly higher heel elevation. So if you're somebody that does like that slightly higher drop and you want something that's a little bit more high than the traditional norm of the industry, which is 4 millimeters, or at least it was, the Dropset Trainer 2 will be a great option for you. In the TriBase Reign 6, you have a 2 millimeter drop, and do note that's with the drop-in midsole in. If you want, and if you want to go crazy like I do with this model, you can take out this drop-in midsole, then you'll have a 0 drop shoe, and you can put in different insoles from different models to give you a super minimalist feel. So I do like that dual functionality with this model. That's what also kind of turns some folks off, because some folks don't love that super minimalist feel of the shoe. But if you are somebody that also trains with barefoot shoes or like more minimalist shoes like myself, or a flatter foot position, that would be something to consider with this shoe regarding its heel to toe drop and the range that you get with this model regarding a 0 drop shoe if you take that insole out, or a 2 millimeter drop. The fourth major difference to note with these shoes is their upper constructions. So for the most part, I think the Reign 6's upper will be a little bit more durable long term. And that's not to say the Dropset Trainer 2's isn't, but when we look at the materials in the breakdown, in the Reign 6 you have a warp upper here, and then you have a chain link mesh. Generally speaking, these upper materials tend to last a while. The warp doesn't often show a lot of scuffing when you're doing toe dragging, and it's nice because it limits any form of like synthetic overlay over the toe box, which a lot of trainers use, like in the Dropset Trainer 2. Also back here in the heel, you have a padded mesh, and you also have a heel counter back here to give you additional support when it comes to heel security. In the Dropset Trainer 2, you have a mesh upper and a lot of breathability throughout. So this upper is a lot more lightweight, so that it's also something to consider if you do like lighter weight uppers and more breathable uppers. This model will feel more breathable than the warp and chain link mesh used in the Reign 6, so definitely food for thought there. But then you have breathable mesh throughout the forefoot and midfoot in this model. Back here in the boot, you do have a bit more structure, you have a padded mesh material, and then also in the midsole of this shoe, you do have this ventilated cutout, which also helps contribute to this model's overall breathability, and it helps cut the weight of this shoe down as a whole. Overall, these shoes have very different feelings, but they're both really strong in the gym. But now let's talk about how they physically perform and compare to one another. All right, so now let's chat performance. Which model is better for lifting? So in the context of stability, I think both of these shoes will be fine for most lifters. I have deadlifted over 500 in both these models, squatted over 400, and their stability has both been fine. Now, there are some nuances and differences here. So if I had to give the outright win to one of these models, I'm going Dropset Trainer 2, and that's for 2 reasons. Number 1, I like the lower stack height in the forefoot here and how it's more flexible for cleans, but then also deadlifts. You get a lot of ground feel in this shoe, but then also I like the grippy outsole outsole and just how this shoe can feel kind of like a traditional weightlifting shoe in the context of lifting. So if you are looking for a model just purely for lifting, or if you're just into bodybuilding, powerlifting, etc., and you want a training shoe for that, this would be a really good option to look into. In the Reign 6, this can be a great option for anybody that wants stability, but then also a bit more flexibility with their shoe. So throughout the midfoot and heel here, this model will be more flexible than the Dropset Trainer 2, and then also that midsole is a bit more plush and responsive. So if you want stability but a bit more bounce throughout the entirety of your shoe's midsole, that would be something to consider with the Reign 6. Also, you have a flatter feel with the shoe, which would also be something to consider for folks who are looking into one of these models purely for lifting. When it comes to cross training and CrossFit, both these models have been exceptional. I like the Reign 6 because it is very well rounded, it feels very good on the feet, and it does give you a bit more of a bouncy feel to it. So for example, if you're doing a WOD with short interval runs or sprints, this model has been exceptional, and you get a nice level of grip with this more aggressive outsole here, and with these wraps here on the lateral medial side, I think you will get a nice level of durability with the shoe regarding abrasion resistance. Also with this model, you have the TriBase Tech in the outsole, so you do get a nice balanced midfoot here in this shoe as well. So for different training asks, if you're doing single leg work and whatnot, the Reign 6 feels very good and seamless on the feet. And then also, just to circle back to what I said earlier, I like that you can take that insole out and almost use this shoe as like a barefoot shoe if you have like an insole from an Innovate model or the older Reign model and you want to get even closer to the ground and have more ground feel. Now do note, if you do that, it's going to be a very different feel and you're going to want to acclimate to that, but the shoe does give you that range, which I personally like. So if you don't want to get a barefoot shoe for this training style and you want a more traditional training shoe that gives you more range, something to consider. In the Dropset Trainer 2, my only gripe with this model when it comes to cross training and CrossFit WODs is that the heel here can feel a little bit limiting because it sticks out. For running asks over a mile, this model can feel pretty uncomfortable. For sprints, single leg work and whatnot, I think this model will feel really good. I have used this model for a lot of athletic sessions and I really like them. Something also to keep an eye on though is that my outsole is starting to peel here. It's not the biggest deal because it's not really hindering performance, but that's because I've been doing a lot of single leg work outdoors in concrete, and that's been really cutting in to the outsole of this shoe. So keep an eye on that if you plan to do a lot of cross training and CrossFit WODs outdoors on concrete. When it comes to short runs, which model is better? I'm gonna give the edge to the Reign 6. Now, this model is a little bit heavier. However, because it has more flexibility, I almost find it to be more comfortable for running asks compared to the Dropset Trainer 2. Both these shoes will work for sprints. Both models work really well for 400 and 800 meter bouts, where you're gonna be primarily on the forefoot and you'll be running faster. But if you have to do a little bit more of an 800 to a mile distance run, the Reign 6 I think is gonna give you a bit more comfort overall. And if you're running on a curved treadmill, that's where I think the Reign 6 also feels a little bit better as well, because on a curved treadmill, a lot of us can be a little bit more prone to heel striking just based on the nature of the treadmill, and that's where the Dropset Trainer 2 can feel a little bit uncomfortable if you're not paying attention to your overall stride rate, where your forefoot's gonna be predominantly making that initial foot strike. When it comes to daily wear and walking, which is more comfortable, I'm also going to give the edge to the Reign 6. Now, take that with a grain of salt because this model I think is more comfortable from an overall flexibility context and plushness of the drop in midsole, but when it comes to breathability, the Dropset Trainer 2 takes the edge. So I think you should prioritize whatever you like more for walking and daily wear in that context. Both models can work, and honestly, I've worn both models for all day wear and they've been fine. The Dropset Trainer 2 can feel a little bit annoying at times with this heel, but honestly, wearing these, for example, around 3 to 5 miles walking my dog, or even around New York City when I initially got these shoes and started breaking them in forever ago, it wasn't the biggest deal with this model. And then with the Reign 6, this model's felt very seamless. I like the aggressive outsole. I think you're gonna get more durability with this shoe compared to other trainers that have exposed foam for daily wear. So definitely food for thought there with the Reign 6. Both shoes can work, but the Reign 6 is a little bit more plush and comfortable overall. So when it comes to the price of the Dropset Trainer 2 and the Reign 6, you can expect to pay $130. Personally, I love both of these shoes just for slightly different reasons, and if you're buying either of these models for lifting and cross training, I think the price points are both fair for these shoes, and I like that both these companies are keeping them at $130 versus jacking them up to $140 and $150, which is now sadly becoming an industry norm. All right, so when it comes to the sizing and fit of the Dropset Trainer 2 and the Reign 6, I think most folks should be safe going true to size in both these models. Now, that said, if you have a narrow, medium, and slightly wider foot, true to size will be the right call in both these shoes. If you have an exceptionally wide foot, Potentially going up a half size might help in both these models if you typically run out of room at the end of your shoe's toe boxes, but definitely let me know in the comments below if you are a little bit hesitant on going up a half size before buying. Let me know what shoe you're currently wearing and in what size, and I can help you out accordingly. But that said, another thought when it comes to sizing with these shoes is that if you have a flatter midfoot, the Dropset Trainer 2 might not be your best call. You have this pretty aggressive medial rubber here, so this can kind of jut into your foot if you do have a flatter midfoot and you hate any arch support, whereas the Reign 6, it's not nearly as aggressive. It's a little bit more plush and it kind of form fits around the foot, so flatter feet might resonate better with the Reign 6 versus the Dropset Trainer 2. All right guys, Maui is back for another cameo. He is this channel's shoe dog. He has asked me to tell you to subscribe to the channel. It helps put kibble in his bowl. But that said, back to the video. All right, now let's compare the weight, heel toe drop, and insoles of the Reign 6 and the Dropset Trainer 2. For my size 10 Reign 6 here, we have a weight of 14.25, 14.30 ounces. Of course, it's gonna change like that. And then in the Dropset Trainer 2, we have a weight of 12.2 ounces. This is a size 10 model as well. The heel to toe drop in the Dropset Trainer 2 is 6 millimeters. The heel to toe drop in the Reign 6 is 2 millimeters. And in the Reign 6, you don't have a removable insole. You have this drop-in midsole, which can be hit or miss for some users depending on what you prefer. And then in the Dropset Trainer 2, you have a thin foam removable insole as well. All right, now let's do a construction comparison of the Reign 6 versus the Dropset Trainer 2. So looking at the uppers of these models, you have a mesh upper on the Dropset Trainer 2. It expands from the forefoot into the midfoot of this model. And then you have some textile and synthetic overlays that also cover the midfoot and the toe box. This material is a little bit more lightweight compared to the Reign 6, which features a chain link mesh on the lateral side, and then this warp upper with synthetic overlays here on the medial side of the forefoot and midfoot. Looking at the midfoot in the Reign 6, you have 5 core eyelets that go up. The tongue itself has a gusset, and you have 2 loops here for security. The tongue is a wider padded mesh, so you don't have a ton of security issues with the Reign 6. And then looking at the boot of this model, you have a padded mesh with a bit of structure to it, an external tab here to help pull the shoe on, and then you have an external heel counter here to help give you additional security. In the Dropset Trainer 2, looking at the midfoot, you have a tongue gusset in this model, and you have 6 core eyelets that go up with the 2 additional eyelets back here to adjust your lacing system. You also have a loop here for security. This tongue is lightweight and padded in mesh as well. And then back here in the boot, you have a padded mesh as well, and then a bit more structure to the boot as well. Looking at the boot structures, the Dropset Trainer 2 does come up a little bit higher with a bit more rigidity to it. So if you're big on ankle support, that could be something to consider with both of these shoes. And you also have an external heel tab here on the Dropset Trainer 2. If this rubs and it's annoying, honestly, just cut it off. I've had other lifters do this and it hasn't hindered the shoe's durability or performance at all. Looking at the midsole of this shoe, you have a dual density midsole that wraps the entirety of the shoe. So up here in the forefoot, this material is a little bit more plush and pliable compared to the denser material back here. You also have these rubber overlays on the lateral and medial side of this shoe. This helps give you additional support and rope climbing durability. And then over here, you get a little bit more lateral support from this overlay. Looking at the Reign 6, once again, you do not have a traditional midsole in this model. Your midsole is this thicker drop-in midsole. The material back here in the midfoot and forefoot is a tiny bit more dense compared to the material up here in the forefoot and the start of the midfoot. Looking at the outsole materials, in the Reign 6, you have a full rubber outsole. The tread is very aggressive, and you also have a break up here in the forefoot to help give you additional maneuverability. You have a nice aggressive wrap here on the lateral side, around the toe box, and then into the medial side of this shoe. The heel of this model doesn't have a plastic TPU clip. It is rubber, so that could hinder some performance for handstand push-ups on the wall when this is biting and not necessarily sliding as much. Looking at the Dropset Trainer 2, you also have a full rubber outsole. As you can see, mine's starting to fade up here, but I have been really using and abusing this shoe on concrete. And you also have a cutout here in the midsole to help promote ventilation. And this outsole material is ADIDAS traction material, so it does usually have a really good grip. Even though this is getting smooth, I still find that I have plenty of grip in this model. And then once again, the Dropset Trainer 2 does have that thin foam removable insole, but that pretty much wraps up the major features of these shoes' constructions. If you have additional questions, drop a comment down below. All right, y'all, that wraps up this comparison of the Dropset Trainer 2 and the Reign 6. Honestly, these are gonna be 2 of the strongest shoes, I think, for training in 2024. At least that's my opinion. If you have additional questions on either of these models, or if you're on the fence between one of them and you're not sure which you should go with, drop a comment down below and let me know what you got. I will answer whatever you have, or you can hit me on Instagram, whichever you prefer. And as always, y'all, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.